and welcome to Happy You Asked, the podcast where we explore a little thing called happiness, one awkward conversation at a time. I am Erin Clare, your host, who's coming to you currently from my office in downtown Boston. We're just too hot for it to be Boston. I could have stayed in Arkansas with this level of temperature. They don't know how to deal with it up here. I'm dying. I'm perimenopausal. I'm hot. I'm
What
dying.
is the
Get it together.
temperature?
It's like in the 90s, which here actually equals 2000 degrees because
Okay.
nothing is air conditioned well. Yeah.
It's 90s
So
here too, so it's fair. Yeah.
that's normal though.
Yeah.
That's normal for there. And that is Cora Wilson. That's who I'm joined with today. Cora is a native of Clarksville, Arkansas, and co-owner of Força Martial Arts and Fitness in Russellville, Arkansas, one of my favorite places on earth. It's a thriving martial arts and fitness community that she and her husband Brian launched in 2012 when they were just babies. Just babies. Real bit. She's also a decorated competitor and dedicated coach. Cora is an undefeated amateur kickboxer and celebrated as a two-time women's amateur IKF bantamweight world champion. World champion. Yes. She holds first-degree black belts in both Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and kickboxing. She's also a certified group fitness instructor and a 200-hour yoga instructor. That last thing is kind of my fault. Whoop. Beyond her accomplishments on the mats, Cora is deeply committed to building an empowerment-based community, particularly for women and kids. At Forza, she fosters confidence, self-defense skills, and resilience across all ages and experience levels, championing an environment where strength and growth are achievable for everyone. And I can confirm that's not just a goal, that is what she actually does. On the academic front, she earned dual bachelor's degrees from Arkansas Tech University in 2014, one being a communications degree with an emphasis in theater, and the other in history and political science. And today, she's embracing her most beloved role yet. Proud mom to Indy Snow Wilson, her 2-month-old son, who is adorable.
It
So
is.
cute. Welcome, Cora. Cora is also one of my favorite people on earth. I adore her.
Well, thank you. You are one of my favorite people on earth, so it's fun to get to hang out together on a Friday morning.
That's right. So I always ask everybody the same question. First one, it's the easiest by far, right? What is your definition of happiness?
Oh yeah, definitely the easiest question by far. So, I think sometimes to understand what something is, we can take a look at what something is not. And that can kind of like help us figure out, what something really is. So for me, I think about, okay, what is not happiness? Stress, anxiety, sadness, frustration, and just all these negative things. And so I can look at that and go, okay, that's not happiness. So it helps me kind of figure out and define for me what is happiness. And anytime I've just thought about that question, one word always comes to mind, and it's peace.
Oh.
Happiness is peace. And it doesn't mean that the world is not still just like crashing and burning all around you. You still have bills to pay and deadlines to meet and just, stress and anxiety going on around you, but it's being able to find your peace, your happiness while all those things are still going on. And I mean, I think personally, I've done a lot of soul searching to try to find that peace and that happiness. And I find that, it's a struggle to be happy in this world, I think. And when people are struggling to find their happy, I think that's when we have to soul search and just really start to um, look around us and try to find those little pieces of happiness throughout all of the chaos. And, I think that this is like a kind of, I feel like kind of controversial, but a lot of people associate happiness with accomplishments. I think
Mhm,
that's like a
mhm.
fast track to happiness. Like, okay, I need to be and feel happy. How am I going to feel happy? And I think people like us, driven people, my husband, they're like, okay, I'm going to create a goal and then I'm going to achieve that goal. And therefore, I will be happy. And I think that can be
Mhm.
really dangerous because then we're constantly searching and constantly trying to achieve. And then sometimes what happens is we achieve all of these things that we wanted, and then we get to the end and we're like, okay, but I'm still not happy. I'm still
Mm.
searching. And so then you get another project and another. So I think that instead we have to, again, find it in those small moments around us, where whether it's walking to the mailbox and, feeling the sunshine hit your face,
Mm.
or sitting outside and watching the hummingbird drink the nectar from the, little holder. Um, or riding your bike and feeling the wind, on your,
Oh, yeah.
or walking through the Bonadilla during the fall and just observing the leaves. So it's those little things like that that I think you can kind of find you're happy. So for me, it's peace through the chaos. To me, that is happiness. That was really long.
Well, no, that was perfect. And actually, you described what most experts say in it too. There's a book, Stumbling on Happiness, who I can't remember who it's by at this very moment, but it says that very thing. Especially in the US, we're very goal driven. But if those goals, right, they're always ahead of us, which means we achieve a goal, we need another goal. And happiness is never now. It's the same
Yes,
concept as Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, right?
yes,
That the old,
mindfulness. Yes,
yep, the only thing that exists is this moment. So if happiness isn't a goal and something else, it's never now.
not
And then we're
now.
like, oh, why am I unhappy?
Exactly.
Why?
I spent several years struggling to find happiness through, struggling with infertility and, New Year's goals, whatever. Some people do them, some people don't. And my goal was contentment, and just being okay with what I have now. And, there's this idea to it is a mindset. It is definitely a mindset, a perspective shift that had to happen for me to find my happiness. Um, and even though I succeeded in my goal of having a child, I did find happiness prior to that, and again, it was a struggle, it was a lot of soul searching, but it's, so there's this glass half full, glass half empty. I'm just happy to have a glass,
Yes,
right? You know?
100%. And that you're exactly right. Because happiness really only comes when we do that deep work internally. Because your happiness isn't going to look like mine, isn't going to look like the other person's. There, it's very individual on what that contentment, that peace is going to look like for each of us and how we're going to construct it. And it doesn't mean that we give up goals completely. It's just our happiness doesn't depend on them,
Yes.
right?
One, I
Yeah.
think that we will always, because there's going to be the time that you don't make the deadline. There's going to be an interruption. There's going to be, because that's life. And so then we get disappointed. And so I think that also, this was something that I had to learn, just expectations. I
Mm.
would always have expectations for myself, a lot of times for others. I'm a type 1 Enneagram, which is I'm a moral perfectionist. You do the right thing all the time. And I would find myself when other people weren't living by the way that I wanted them to live, I would be disappointed, frustrated, which is the opposite of happy. And I became a lot happier when my expectations, I just kind of let them go. I have a shirt. It says, expect nothing, accept everything.
Mm.
And I also like accept nothing, appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Expect nothing, appreciate everything, because I think our expectations, a lot of times we disappoint ourselves because of those expectations that we put on ourselves and others, and then boom, then we're not happy. So
100%. When you're talking, reminded me of is the four agreements,
yes,
right? And a lot of what gets in the way, same thing for me, is expectations, right? I expected to achieve this, I didn't. Therefore, what do I do? Right? I just
yes,
get sad or upset, or I expected someone else to do something, even if I didn't even tell them explicitly,
yes.
but I expected them because I would have, which isn't fair. It's not fair. And it's putting things that are my crap onto them, right?
Yes,
It gets in the way of
100%.
my happiness and theirs. Because then I'm kind of also being a jerk, right?
Exactly. Yes. I mean, that's so easy. Obviously, I think we do that to our spouses. As an employer, there have been times I have noticed I've done that, expected something of my employees and expected things that they honestly were never equipped to give too.
Mm-hmm.
Learning too that this is this person's strengths and weaknesses. These are my strengths and weaknesses. And when I stopped expecting, I stopped being disappointed.
Yes.
And now
And
I
then
have a child.
appreciate what they do.
Yeah, exactly. Appreciate what they do, appreciate what they're good at, put them in roles that they are good at, and don't and stop expecting them to be good at this area that they're just not. And the same for ourselves too.
Mm.
So,
It's also a healthier place to be as a parent, coming into that. Is
yes.
I mean, everybody's going to mess up their kids in some way. That's just what we do. Okay, Cora, just to deal with that, right? It's what,
This is a struggle. I'm
it's
struggling
just,
with that.
yes, and it gets easier over time because you're like, I've been doing it so long, I don't have the energy I can't count the things I messed up. But, but when we come from a place of being, like really looking at ourselves then we become better parents. People who are self-aware, they're trying to grow, are better parents. We're human. We allow ourselves to be human. We apologize when we screw up, and we don't do things like you're saying, like expect things that they can't do. It's not fair.
Yes, so it's so funny. I saw a meme, and so I'm a millennial, so I see a lot of millennial type, information on the internet, memes, videos, whatever. And it's talking about how like with our generation, therapy is talked about a lot more openly. And so like we go to our therapist and we're like, these are all the ways our parents, like hurt us or messed us up. And then we're not going to do this, and we're fixing this for our children. And then it's like fast forward 20 years later, our kids are in therapy being like, and this is how my mom messed me up. It's like, it just is what it is.
I remember being in therapy years ago, and I was complaining about something or other. And this happened when I was a kid, and that happened. And the therapist said, "Wow, your parents sound really great." And I was like,
What?
that's not what I wanted to hear. Right. And but as I got older and more mature and did more work, I realized, hey, they were just doing the best they could, and they really did a fine job, you know. And it's like be
100%.
grateful.
Yes, yeah. Glass half full, glass half empty. You had a glass. Yep,
Yes, exactly. I
have
had
a
a
glass.
glass of something.
Yes, of something, maybe like alcohol.
Exactly. But I had a glass. And, that also it's a lot healthier way to look at the world. Like everybody's just doing the best they can. Some
Yes.
people's best isn't very good, but it's the best they can do. And we assume that. And maybe we have to distance ourselves if their best is really awful. But we just all human beings, not no one has knows how to be a better human being than another person, really.
Nope. And nobody wants to fail. Then this is what I have match chats with my kids at the gym, and I tell them, nobody is out there just wanting to crash and burn. Like that's typically not, everybody is trying their best. And again, that best looks different for everybody. Everybody is just trying to be happy and have something, have, substance in their life. And so we just have to have a little bit of grace for people.
Mm.
It was yesterday. I've told this story. No, it was Wednesday. I've told this story like 4 times. I am over it. I promise. I really am. But I feel like it's appropriate to bring up again. So, I was in line. There is a like a coffee truck now at the end of my road, a little mobile truck. What do they call those? Like food truck, but
Food
it's
truck. Yeah.
coffee. Yeah.
Mhm.
And you can walk up and place an order, or you can do the drive-through. Either way, you can drive up or you can walk up. Well, there was a young lady, it looked like she'd already placed an order. She was waiting for it. And then there was a older couple that I couldn't tell if they'd ordered or not, and I didn't want my car to be all up in their business, so I gave them a little bit of space, but you could tell it was girl number one, couple, and then I was in my car. The other people were standing. And I'm sitting there, and I see a lady. She pulls in, she parks. She walks right in front of my car, orders, gets her coffee. And I was
Oh,
like,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
and then, I sat there, and sure, it was 3 minutes. And I said, it's 3 minutes of my day, and I have the 3 minutes to spare. I'm not gonna let this, it confused me, so I had to think about it a couple times of like, eat rules. because type of Enneagrams, we like rules, we follow the rules. So I was like, this person's not following the rules. My brain is going, eat, 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 eat. And then I was like, whatever. I had 3 minutes to spare. I hope she enjoyed her coffee. Who cares? But maybe a couple years ago, that would have been a something that upset me throughout that day,
Mhm.
the next day, and onward. And now I just go, well, that was interesting. That's a maybe I should do that at Starbucks next time. Like all the cars on the line, I'll just walk up to the window. Take it,
Toot, toot. Yeah.
guys.
I
Great
had
strategy.
yesterday something similar happened to me. I had a long day. It was very stressful at work. It was so hot in town. And what that means when you commute is, the subways aren't going to be air conditioned. The cars are going to be middling air conditioned. The more people, oh, so I'm exhausted. I'm hot. I'm stressed. I get in my commuter train and I bring out my laptop because I got more work to do. Boop, 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 boop. 60 kids enter the train loud, like we're talking fifth graders.
Oh yeah, the
And
best.
and I was like, my mind, I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm gonna lose it. And at one point, one girl's being really loud, and I said, "Be quiet, you're in a public place." And the counselor, like, was like, "I will correct her, thank you." And I was like, "Oh, I gotta fight her." And I was like, "No, you don't, Aaron. No, you don't. These kids are on a field trip. This is your stress, has nothing to do with them. Do not be that woman. Just put your headphones on and shut up, girl. It's fine." And then I would have held on to that, I think, a couple years ago and just be like, no, it's right. But it's not. I was the wrong one there. They're allowed to be on the train. They're loud. It doesn't matter. I just had a long day and I need to recognize that and go with it and be like, I'm sorry. Sorry. I was
Isn't
embarrassed for myself.
isn't that growth though? Like just like I said a couple years ago, and you said a couple years ago, it's beautiful that we can, see like, okay, like I as a person, I am becoming more tolerant, versus I feel like I will say this. I am becoming less tolerant in certain ways. As in,
Mm-hmm.
I'm now as a mom and in my 30s, I have boundaries now that in my early 20s, I didn't have boundaries. I, would let people just, people pleaser, and I still love to make people happy. It's a great thing. I like to be happy. I like to help make other people happy, but healthy boundaries, and that so tolerance in certain areas have went down, but also more understanding and tolerance for others has went up in other areas. So it's a beautiful thing, and it's a balance of,
Well, I think the big shift for me was when I am angry, instead of just making that reflecting on where's the anger coming from? Like, why am I actually
Mhm.
angry? Because being angry for me is an absence of peace. So,
Yes.
is there something I can do about it or not? Right? Is the
Hmm.
anger coming from within and it's my stuff, or is it external and there's
Yes.
something I need to address?
Yes, 100%. Exactly. And that's why when, again, like with like happiness, it always peace. It always comes down like I always one word, it's peace, So
And I think with traveling, like we were talking before this interview about how the traveling wears on me and things like that. Yeah, just like you were saying, it's hard. It's not a party, right? It is not a party at all. I don't know. These movies make it out like, oh, I'm going to be a career woman and travel jet set. It
No,
sucks. It's
no.
not fun. Now, but at the same time, I have to maintain a sort of perspective. It's
Hmm.
tiring. I'm very privileged to be able to do this and find peace. Peace
Yes.
listening to music in the airplane, peace
Yes.
doing on the train, doing a meditation or reading a book,
Yes.
peace and find it wherever I am.
Exactly. So that's exactly like, ways to find happiness. For me, music is a big one. So it's like there's these, when I'm struggling to find my happy, I know there's like fast tracks to happiness, and one of them is to go to a concert. I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
if I do this, it equals
100%.
that, yoga. Go
Hmm.
to a yoga class, specifically one of your yoga classes. I know at the
Oh.
end, we're going to work hard, we're going to have fun, it's going to be hot, and we're going to do the things. And then at the end, I'm going to feel this cathartic release, and it will equal happiness. And there may even be a moment of frustration, anger, like, and especially if my body's not wanting to cooperate, but then it
Hmm.
it levels out at the end. And um,
Yeah,
So
there's never been a time when I'd be like, I regret taking that yoga class. Boo. Right?
exactly, yes. At the end, it's always like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, woo. And there's people I've even my sister one time was like, I sat in my car for a while. You get like yoga drunk, like at
Yes.
the end of a class, you're just kind of like, whoa, like,
Mhm.
woo. I've had a lot of really great moments at the end of a yoga class. I mean, just so again, pathway to happiness. For me, I'm a sucker for it, but Universal Studios, I give those people my money. Listen, it is a fast track to happiness. I love walking around an amusement park and being amused.
Yeah, yes. You're amusing me. You're
I am,
doing it.
they're literally doing it. Like I am so amused as I'm walking through these amusement parks. So yeah, there's these fast tracks to happiness, but I think if we rely sometimes a little bit too much on that, and then we start, doing it, and then we're like, oh man, this doesn't feel
The
happy.
everyday sucks. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you got to find the happiness in the mundane, in the day to
Mhm.
day, in the things we don't
And then
like.
get your shots of dopamine through these other things.
100%. Yes, yes.
I know a lot of people are going to want to hear about like this. You're a world champion fighter, right? But you're also one of the kindest, like calmest people I know. How does that work, Cora?
I will say, to me, fighting and competing, it was the accomplishment, the end goal. It's never anything personal. It's never it's strategy. I've always been able to separate those two things. I actually just told this story, and I was teaching a spin class on Tuesday night. And I said, I fought on a kind of a bigger card, kind of like a feeder into the UFC eventually. And my friend, he said, listen, if they interview you, you need to say crazy things. Like you need to be wild. Like you need to stand out. Like this is the feeder card UFC. So you need to like really do something crazy or say something or just be bold and call people out. And I told him, I said, Colby, like I cannot do that. That is not genuine. It's not authentic. That's not my truest self. And so anytime I've been interviewed after a fight, I always just say, like, I'm just here to have a good time. I'm just here to have fun, and that's never probably what they were really wanting. They want, like, I'm going to be the next champion. Whoever you've got, you bring them to me. But, I did those things because I enjoyed it. I still think about fighting all the time. I still think about it's so the rush of getting out there and you work on something and then you get to actually do it and see if it works. And it's just an enjoyable thing. But really, I will say in jujitsu, I always kind of felt like I held myself back because I kind of was too nice. I'll tell you
Mm.
about a match. I was in Tulsa and I just won a gold medal in the earlier division that day. And I beat somebody who honestly is better than me. You can beat people who are better than you in martial arts. It depends on the day, their mentality, your mentality. The biggest part of fighting and competing is mental. So that day, I beat a world champion in jiu-jitsu and a Pan American champion. And we were competing in a later division that day with a little bit different rule set. And her dad had came to see her, and she was a friend of mine from a different school. Her dad had came down from California to watch her compete, and I just beat her. She just lost. And we're in this match for the finals, and I'm sitting there going, her dad's right there. And I didn't let her win, but I didn't fight my hardest fight. And she ended up winning
Mm.
on points. And I had no regrets. And, one of my friends was like, did you just give up that match? Like, what was the deal? And I just said, like her dad was here and it was a good match. I've always struggled in jujitsu, like, because it is more of a gentle art. I've struggled turning it on and being mean. Whereas kickboxing, I'm like, okay, you're about to punch me in the face. I have to punch you harder and first because you're going to instantly hurt me and like, or knock me out. There's a big difference between what happens at the end of a jiu-jitsu match and a kickboxing match. So I was able to say, okay, I got to hurt you first before you hurt me. But in jiu-jitsu, I always struggled with turning it on because I'm a little bit too nice. Too nice.
Yeah, I start thinking this person's got pets and
Yeah,
they should
their
probably
pets love
win.
them. Yeah, like their dog is gonna want them to come home happy. So I need to know. So I have always struggled in jiu-jitsu with separating kindness. One time I was in a match and the girl was smaller than me. And she's in my division, but the girl was smaller than me. That I won double gold at this tournament. And Brian is like, he's like, he's coaching me. He's like, clock around. He's like, now I want you to take your hip and drive it into her face. And I was like, he's like, you take your hip and I'm like, doing that. I couldn't do it. Like I could not. I mean, I kind of like dropped my hip a little bit, but it killed me.
I'm
So
sure Brian's like, what the hell,
yeah,
Cora?
he's like, she signed up for this. She would do it to you. And it is true. They would typically, they would do it to me, but I always struggled being mean in jujitsu. I don't like to be mean in jujitsu. I like it to be fun and lighthearted. So I don't really enjoy competing in jujitsu as much. So
Kickboxing, you miss it?
but I do, yes. I envision like I get real excited sometimes. Like I'll be riding my bike and a song will come on and I'll picture like walking out to it or I'll picture like training to it. I just picture myself like fighting to it and I get real excited. I would really love as a mom to compete again and fight again. Um to just for me, to for the goal of okay, I cut the weight, I did the weigh-ins, I fought the fight. Hopefully I win the fight. I would love to win the fight. That would be a big perk. But I would love to get out there and kickbox again. But it's challenging because I never signed my pro card. So
Mm.
finding women in this area who is willing to fight a two-time kickboxing champion, that's difficult because it's already a small pool. So you have to find someone at your experience level and your weight that is willing to accept that fight. And I'm sure there's somebody out there, but it makes it more difficult. So, and I don't necessarily want to sign my pro card because I haven't fought in my last fight was 20, I don't remember, 16 maybe, 2017,
Mhm.
maybe 2018. I don't know. I'm making up numbers at this point. But so I don't want
A
to sign
minute ago.
a minute ago. I don't want to sign my pro card and then fighting these girls who are like been active for the past, however many years that I haven't. So it's it's difficult. So
But as a parent, it's sort of like why I'm here in Boston, right? You want to show your kids you can do and what
yes.
they can do.
Yes. I will say I'm very proud. I printed off, do you print off pictures still? Do you print pictures?
No, I did when they were little. I have albums when
So
they were babies.
Facebook's gonna disappear one day. It just is. And all of my pictures are on there. So I have all of my fight photos and training. I have a gym binder, or not binder, but photo album. I have like a concert photo album and family, and I just bought one for Indy now. That's Indy's
Mhm.
album. So I try to print pictures. So I'm so excited for him to go through one day and look at these pictures of me punching someone in the face and like I hope he's impressed. It's questionable whether he will be or not, but
Well, give it time. I mean, I trust me right now, Moss is not impressed with a single thing I've ever done in my life, but he will be later.
he will
No,
be
I
later.
yes, that's a good idea. I should do some of that too because it's one of those things that also would bring me joy to look at.
It, I pull them out and I smile as I flip through. I remember the moment, that's why I have the pictures is to remember that moment because, life goes by and I have a wedding album and we had such a fun reception and I look through and it's like, oh, I remember when that person did that and oh, that was so fun when this song was playing when we were doing
Mm.
this. So I highly recommend twice a year, go through your phone, send the pictures off to whatever. I get them delivered from Walmart to me. I used to use a different Shutterfly or something. But get the pictures delivered and ordered and put them in the albums and then have them for forever and ever and ever.
Good idea. Now, what's always interesting though is regarding kickboxing and martial arts and training is violence. What are
Mm.
your feelings about like violence in general?
So I am not a fan of violence. I don't think, I think, so the great thing, I teach my kids, we train this. There's a quote that it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war.
Mm,
So I'm in my garden and I know how to protect myself. I have the skills to do it, but I'm gardening. But if something happens, if I am at a concert, and I've been to concerts where things started getting a little weird. I recently went to a Primus, a Perfect Circle, and Pussifer concert, and
ooh.
the dude next to me, I could tell was, and I was 35 weeks pregnant, very largely pregnant, and I could tell that he was getting aggressive. He was getting aggressive with other people. He started getting aggressive with his partner he was with. And I told Brian, I said, that girl went home and got beat. Like,
Mm,
I could tell, like it was not good. And so it's like this awareness, and I was smart because I'm pregnant. Now I have to protect Indy. So I moved, but being able to protect myself, and that's why we train. And that's why I tell the kids, we train so that if anything were to ever happen where you had to protect yourself, you have the skills. And I've had kids that, were severely bullied and severely bullied. And I had this one boy. This kid got physical with him, and this boy was a black belt of mine. He let him have it, and
mm.
there were witnesses. People watched, and that bully never messed with that kid from that point on. So you
No, with a black belt, dummy.
Yeah, well, you have these outliers of society, right? These people who are, drunk on drugs, not right in the head, and for kids, just very aggressive. And again, not right in the head. They weren't given the tools. And the moment that you're in danger and your body is in danger, it's not about violence, it's about protection. And so, I once again, the fights, love watching the matches. And people who are not involved in martial arts goes, "Ugh, that's too violent. How can that they're animals in a cage fighting?" But for the artist, it's not that. It's most of these people are not getting into the ring, mess somebody up. You have those people, but it's mostly to display the art, the craft that they've been building, and it just so happens to look very violent. But at the end of the match, the two people shake hands. They both signed up for it. Good match, good game. And it is really, even though it looks really violent from the outside, it's not as much when you're on the inside.
How do you help train children understand not to use violence aggressively, but to attack others?
Conversations and frequent conversations. We at Forza, something that, I tell people it is more than martial arts. If you want your kid just to be able to fight somebody and beat someone up, go to a different gym. If you want your kid to learn how to be a good person, come to Forza. That's the goal. And if your kid wants to compete and do that, great, awesome. I will teach them how to punch somebody. And I tell the kids, you have an adult that comes in, it's a stranger that's trying to hurt you, you slice their face open with your elbow. Like we go there, we get to that point. But frequent conversations and having good leadership where they see that. So like myself, in my years of competing, I told them, I'm out here competing, I'm punching people, I'm kicking people, I'm choking people in the ring and in this acceptable area. But in real life, I have never had to use my martial arts moves on somebody because I remove myself from those situations before they ever occur. So we have a student creed that we say at the beginning of every class, and it said, "I will use common sense before self-defense." So I tell them, if I'm at a concert and I see that people are starting to get rough and wild, I remove myself from that situation. And so having leaders and like Howie, he can go into a ring, he can fight, he can win his titles, he can come out and be a good man, a good person, a good coach. Them,
And he's so gentle.
yes, and they need to see that separation. They need to see that their leaders can be deadly, but also, be kind and good. So leading by example, having the good leaders, having the frequent conversations, I think that is how we combat kids just going out there and, you know, being menaces of society.
Well, I think too, I've noticed it's also when they're rolling on the mat, if someone's doing something that's not kind, like too aggressive or something that would hurt them for no reason, that you
Yes.
guys call immediately on it.
Yes. Yep. I'm not into it. We don't like mat bullies. And that's why I tell the kids, this is, are you training for a fight? Do you have a match this weekend? No? Okay, take care of your partners. And being a female in the sport, um, taking care of partners is something I've always preached about because the little people won't last. Of course, I have a friend, his name is Bread, and when he
I know,
first started,
Brad.
yes, so Bread, large man, well over 200 pounds. He first started and I wouldn't play with him. I wouldn't roll with him because I, at that point, was protecting my body. Sure, I could roll with him, but he was dumb. He was a white belt. He was going to flop on me and hurt my 135-pound body. And so I said, when you're a blue belt, when you've learned a little bit of control, I will roll with you. Can I roll with you right now and choke you? Yes, but at the expense of my shoulder and my elbow, and I'm getting older, and I don't need that anymore. I don't have to prove to myself because I've already done that. I did it where I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go with this big guy and I had that confidence already. So he got his blue belt and he's like, will you roll with me? And I was like, all right, let's go. I'll roll with you. And I submitted him. I tapped him in 5 times in like 5 minutes. And he was like, oh my God, that was so awesome. And, so I always tell people like the big people got to take care of the little people. Can the little people fend for themselves? Yes. But geez, it's hard on our
On
giant.
equal level, more equal level. You
Yes,
can't take
yes.
someone who doesn't know anything and
Ex
hurt you.
Yes, yes, exactly. So, it's difficult a woman in a male-dominated area. And when I was coming up, man, I was like a little cockroach. Those guys would just step on me and smash me and grind. And I had an ego, like I didn't want to tap. So I would just be like, they'd be like, go get down, and they couldn't put me away, but I was like still moving. And now I'm pickier with who I play with because I can be, I've already proved to myself I can protect myself and I just don't want to get hurt anymore. So,
You know, when I was playing roller derby and coaching roller derby, people would always say, that seems very strange to do roller derby and yoga because they seem opposites,
yeah.
right? And it seems similar with what you do, right?
Yes.
Kickboxing and then also teaching yoga.
Mhm.
How does that come together in your head?
You know, I mean, it's so easy. It's so natural. For me, it's because once again, like taking the violence out of it. But even in yoga, you learn like that um as you're coming up that there are times you have to fight. There are times like in yoga, it was it's in the oh the Gita, in the
Mhm.
very beginning, it's this question of where there's a war and how am I supposed to fight and I'm going to hurt people and it says, well, you're doing this for the greater good. And so for kickboxing, if I'm teaching women to protect themselves, it's for the greater good. So it's, yes, I'm teaching them these elbows and these kicks and these things, but it's not to, do bad things with, it's to do good things. And then, teaching yoga, I feel like it is the yin to the yang, it is the balance of the violence. But I had somebody one time, they told me, I just don't see you being able to be a yoga teacher. Like your voice, it's not very yoga-y. And I'm like, well,
First of all, rude, but
I think they were just confused, like the
Mhm.
dichotomy of, I'm a very upbeat person, especially when I'm teaching fitness kickboxing. I'm like, hey, hi, well, hi, yeah. And then being able to, tone it down a little bit,
Mm.
but I still have fun with my yoga classes, and have a little bit higher. You don't have
You
to
don't have to be someone else's yoga teacher.
know exactly. And so, um, you know, for me, that transition of teaching those different classes into yoga was just very, I don't know, natural
Mhm.
and healing too, and good to be able to do that different style of teaching. So,
Yeah, and the best yoga teachers are the ones who are most authentic to themselves. They're not
yes.
trying to be a yoga teacher. They're trying to be themselves. teaching this thing they know and
Yes.
passing it on. And to me, it makes a lot of sense too. There isn't that same separation because in how you described kickboxing and yoga, it's the same goal. It's peace, peace for other people too. You
Yes.
teach those things so that they have peace in how they live, so that they
Yes.
can help there be peace around if something goes down. Same with yoga, internal peace, right? All of
Yes.
that processing that we have to do.
Yes.
They go together perfectly for me, but a lot of people be like, that doesn't make sense.
Well, and
And you and I
even
are like, yeah,
so,
it does.
of course, duh.
Yeah, duh.
Even watching the other day, I was watching people training. And they were doing the Muay Thai class, which is a kickboxing class. We use kicks, knees, elbows, and punches. And I'm watching these two people do their moves on each other. So they're doing these violent slicing elbows with a smile on their face. And they found their peace. In that
Mhm.
moment, nothing else mattered except being with that person that they're training with and having a good time and moving the body and finding the peace through the movement, which is yoga, finding your
Mhm.
peace through the asanas. And
Mhm.
to me, like, yeah, the kickboxing is just asana, it's just it's
100%.
it's the
But it's
movement.
the same type of thing. Well, what's really cool is you can feel that vibe when you come in Forza. That even though people may be doing some violent things, it's so peaceful in there and so happy. Like
Yes,
everybody, they're freaking happy to be
yes,
there. No one's like, or everybody's just like,
yes,
yay. And together, no matter if it's they're doing the spin class, they're doing fitness kickboxing, they're doing training in 4 boxing matches, or
yes.
they're doing yoga. Everybody's freaking happy,
That's
right?
that's the goal. Like that's the community that Brian and I wanted to achieve. A place that's people could come and find their happy. And some people find their happy making pottery and going to the pottery place downtown. And some people's happy is, riding their bike and going to the bike shop and getting the parts for their bikes. And for a group of people in Russellville, they're happy is what we're doing at Forza, and that's the greatest gift. And so, one of your questions on your piece of paper of potential topics was about like society and
Mhm.
if it's set up, for happiness, and it's not. All right, what we're doing right now, it is not. And I feel like Brian and I are able to provide this space where in this world right now, where our job is to, at the age of what's maybe for some people 6 months old or 3 months old, when your mom doesn't have maternity leave anymore, you go to daycare. Now you're on this schedule from 3 months old or however many weeks, 6 weeks. You're now on the 8 to 5 schedule and you're on that 8 to 5 or 8 to 3 if it's school for the rest of your life until you
Mhm.
retire.
If you
And
can.
if you can retire, and it's not, and so I feel like you have found your happiness through your career, but there's so many people that are just not they it's not that way.
Yeah.
They're working jobs that they hate. It is literally just to make this green money so that they can pay their bills and feed their kids. And it is this trap. It is a cycle. They're working at the factory. And again, hopefully these people can find some happy doing these things. But I feel very fortunate that my job does provide me, happiness. So that's why Brian and I, we wanted to create a space where these people who maybe don't have that happiness in their careers, they can get off work or come in before work and just find a little bit of happy in
Yeah.
this.
And it's also a great community too. Just
Yep.
it's very supportive, and anybody who comes in, they are, welcome so long as they don't act like a jerk. They are welcome for all time.
Yes. So that is also when it comes to Forza. We are at, back when we first started and we just needed to keep the lights on. Anybody, everybody, come on in. Anybody, everybody. Now, I protect my people. We have to protect our community. And if somebody comes in that is really on the violent side that we feel like we can't, kind of curve on over to see the way, adios. See you later.
Mhm.
I
And I
have,
love that. I love that about Forza because I feel confident that whoever's going to show up, they're right. They're going to be good people.
yes,
They're not
yep.
going to be there to hurt anybody.
Nope, that is the goal. And now that we can keep the lights on, I can say I just don't think this is a good fit. And it's a not great conversation for me that I've had to protect the herd, to protect our people, and I'm
Mhm.
willing to do it every day if I have to. And once again, not my favorite conversation. Don't like doing that. But if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit.
That's but that's good for everybody overall.
It is.
We're already coming to the end of our time, if you could believe this.
What we just started like 5 minutes ago.
I know, right? I have two more questions.
Yes.
And I know you've prepared. I'm glad I gave you the sheet because the one, if I had just sprung this on you, you would murder me next time I'm in Arkansas. So, your favorite song to go on the playlist?
I'm gonna murder you now because it's literally the most the happiness question was way easier than this because I love music, you love music, and my favorite, I have so many. It's like, okay, what are we feeling? Like, are we moody today? Like, are we listening to like Mad Season and Alice in Chains? Or like, are we like, where are we at? So I literally, up until this morning, kept going back and forth between two songs. And I
You
told
can have both. How's
no,
that?
no,
Nope.
it's
Okay, pick one. Good. Rule follower.
oh,
Enneagram one.
yeah. So I decided to go with a song called Ain't Life Grand by Widespread Panic. And
Perfect.
so Widespread Panic is one of my favorite bands. They're a jam band. They are not everybody's cup of tea. But the reason I've cried hearing this song live, and it's really this one line. It just makes me feel something. And the line is, the sun came out the other day through those dusty clouds, and in my mind I was a child, and it felt good. And he'll yell and he'll say, and it felt good. And I mean, like, to in my mind I was a child and it felt good. Like, man, that's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
So I thought about more aesthetic songs that other people would enjoy that, we could put on this playlist. But I just kept coming
It's not
back.
about that.
And even though the other second place song, it was still good. It was an Incubus song. But
Which one? You can't leave me
okay,
hanging.
it was Wish You Were Here.
Oh,
Uh,
oh, I love that song.
it's great. He's like, I dig my toes into the sand, and and in this moment, I'm happy, and I wish you were
Mm.
here. And life's a roller coaster, and I'm not strapped in, and who cares? My hands are up in the air. And so I really love that. Both of those, great. But Ain't Life Grand? Look around, take a peek at the sun coming through, and just feel the happiness and be happy.
We notice I just have to ask other people because I will I don't have to pick one. But I go through like you, all these lists of which ones could it be. One of the ones I come to a lot is Dig by Incubus.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because it's like
Yeah, we
asking
all
a
have.
friend, yeah, we all have something that digs at us and help
Yes.
me like get out from under that to back to where I really
Yes.
am.
Yes, I love music. We could just like have like a podcast on music and like lyrics and what makes us feel. Yeah,
100%. I would
yeah.
love that. I need to do that now too. Anyway, one last thing then. Any final thoughts about happiness that you want to share with the world?
You know, there's gonna be those times where you just feel the weight of the world and there's just no possible way you could be happy and it's just horrible, it's awful. And I just ask you to just go outside, feel the sun, feel the breeze, look at the trees, smell the flower, and just try to look around you and just try to shift that perspective and try to find anything, no matter how small it is, the taste of your coffee, whatever, and just try to cling to that to help you get through those days that are just really, really tough because there is happiness. And sometimes we do have to really search out, but sometimes it's right there, right beside you. And you just got to open up your eyes a little bit and it's there.
I love that so much. And it's so important. You are so right. Cora, I I could talk to you forever. I really could. I just think the world of you. Can't
Oh,
wait to
thank
see
you.
you next week.
Yes, yes.
Yes. And then when I get back, I'm gonna go to a Widespread Panic concert next Saturday.
I hope you love it. I hope you love it because jam bands can be so, some people either love it or they don't, but either way, it's an
I'm
experience.
wide open for because of you, because you love them so
Wide
much.
open for widespread panic.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening. And if you are in the Russellville area, please do stop by the amazing, amazing community that is Forza. You will not regret it. See you next
Bye.
time. Bye.